A few of you might remember that back in 2020, I made a Regency dress. To be honest with you, this time period has always kind of fascinated me, and I love the silhouette. But the problem I've been having is that that dress gets wrapped around my ankles with the train. So we need to make a petticoat. This petticoat I'm going to make from an upcycled curtain that was in my thrift haul video. So go ahead and check it out. That'll go link it down below in the comment section. But first I needed to make sure that the panel was going to be long enough to at least get to my ankles. I don't necessarily need to have a ton of volume, but I need basically a slip to kind of keep the cotton out away from my ankles. Because it is upcycled, I'm going to need to be able to go through and iron out all of the wrinkles that happened. I did wash this because I wanted the end result to be washable. So I've got to iron out all of the seams that I ripped out and all of the little squished up bits that the washing machine created. I'm not really doing a lot of measurements off of this. I am just kind of going off of my own proportions because with Regency, I am busty enough that proportions always seem to be a bit weird. So I wanted to make sure that I had the correct width for my rib cage measurement to go all the way around. And after I got the rib cage measured, I needed to figure out where the straps were going to attach. This petticoat isn't going to be fully bodiced. It's actually probably a bit later in the Regency period than the dress that I originally had made. But you know what? We're going with ease and trying to make my life happy and easy at this point. So I'm going to pin this shut where I would want that closed. And then I want to make sure that I know kind of where my nipple line is sitting for center of my bust points. I want the petticoat to be flat between those so that I don't get more fabric caught up in front of my ankles as I walk around. I'm going to mark the center so that I can use that to kind of gather fabric as needed and not lose that point. I'm just marking them with pins. And then the last piece of this puzzle that I need to mark is going to be my center back right over my spine. The shoulder straps that I'm going to attach are going to be attached at the center back over my spine, and then they'll come around and attach to the pins on either side of my wrist. In the meantime, let's get a waistband attached. I'm going to use more of this twill tape, specifically the one we were just pinning to. I'm going to do a set of pleats that go between the edge and basically that first pin for the side of my bodice. I decided I wanted this petticoat to open on the side to just eliminate some seams and potential for there to be, I guess, wrinkles or other issues with not smooth lines in the front. And once I get all of that kind of pleated in for that first section with little knife pleats, I'm going to pin it so it's flat across my stomach to help get that skimming effect and not have to deal with excess weight. And yes, if I had been measuring these precisely, I probably could have avoided having to redo some of these. Ultimately, the knife pleats looked a little bit weird, so box pleats it is, right? After I attached the skirt across that flat front section, I then have all of this side that I need to pleat up from the center back, trying to get those pleats to kind of sit where they need to, and then all of this surplus skirt. but just so you can kind of see what the game plan is. I've still got my pin marked for the center back, and honestly, I decided to do a box pleat over the center back and kind of work my way out, if that makes sense. Because I didn't measure out any of the waistband points, I'm just dividing the waistband half by half by half and kind of pleating stuff in so that the pleats are all roughly uniform. But this is helping me keep a couple of points to anchor my pleats and kind of verify that everything is more or less coming out evenly. I found it super helpful, but if you want to mark out every pleat, go for it. That's all you. If you prefer to kind of do an eyeballed method like I did with this to try and keep my life simple, you can do that too. Ultimately, if you're making one of these, it's your petticoat, do what you want. Have you made a Regency petticoat in historical costuming, or do you want to? Tell me what your thoughts are down in the comments below. I know that we don't always like to make things from the skin out, but sometimes it is really helpful. Honestly, the pinning of all of the different pleats between the knife pleats and getting these box pleats in the center back just right is probably the most time consuming part of this entire project. So just keep that in mind when you're working on it. This could definitely be a one-day make if you've got the whole day to devote to it. And you could theoretically use less fabric, but this is the amount I needed to gracefully skim over my hips and everything else. That's roughly one curtain panel. Continuing to try and make my life simple, this is a project that I actually ran through the sewing machine. I was not worried about working in historical practice with this particular project. I just needed it to be done because I really want to be able to have a little more confidence when I am wearing my Regency outfits. I would love to find more reasons to wear them, and that kind of means going back and making the proper foundations that I didn't do the first time. So take your time. I definitely did not sew over the pins. I did not have a needle equipped for that really. So I do a lot of starts and stops. But even with doing that, it was still way faster than trying to go through and backstitch or running stitch this entire length of fabric with all of these pleats. Now, because my waistband was twill tape, it doesn't have a raw edge. So I can seriously just fold it back over, kind of tuck in some ends, and then stitch right back on top of it with a top stitch to make a secure and neat waistband that encases all of those raw edges. I just have to make sure that when I get to the ends of the petticoat where the opening is, that I take a few extra minutes to tuck in the raw edges of my twill tape. I'm sure there's some of you out there that would not take the time to pin the twill tape down. If you're not going to take the time to fold over the twill tape and pin it, I am going to recommend that you take some time to take it over to the iron at the very least and iron a crease into that twill tape once you're done sewing down your pleats. That way you have it pressed and it's happy to work with you, and you're not having to fight with it rolling around at the top of the pleats with whatever fabric ends might be up there. I did put my pins going the opposite direction from what I normally do when I'm sewing on a machine, and that was mostly to get more real estate on the garment versus when I do them going perpendicular to the sewing needle for easy grabbing. The way I was taught, you always do them perpendicular, but what I'm going to say is there's time and place. With the waistband done, I got to stitch in the shoulder straps. I started with the center back and kind of back stitched around that center back. I just folded it to create a little mitered corner in there. And then I stitched little rectangles around the bases of those shoulder straps in the front. And I ended up having a little tail that I tuck in. I left it in place on the final product as well, just in case I need it for something else. It does lift up just a smidge in the center back, sort of like my bodice does for my dress. Ultimately, that doesn't bug me too much. The more important thing is that now I have a glorious petticoat to act as a foundation for my garb. I also did a quick side seam up to make tube. I didn't bother filming much of that because I figured you all knew how to make a tube and run a quick hem through your sewing machines. But what do you think? Did I make a decent petticoat? Do you want to give one of these a try for your next Regency or Bridgerton-esque outfits? Let me know down in the comment section. I'm going to link some of the other Regency projects I'm working on if you're watching this once those are published. And if not, you'll get to click on the video that's up in the corner to go and see the Bridgerton experience, where you kind of see where I'm not wearing this and I really wish I had been to make my life easier. I hope you're having a fantastic day, and thank you so much for watching. Make sure to give me a thumbs up if this was helpful. Bye.